Doctor of Demons by Nyan Sunketsu, Chapter 9, Demon or Two. Yes, that's right. It'll be a massacre, but for whom? Oh, oi, don't you dare take my prey. Too late already did. Demon or Two. Become a demon, Urakdaki. The four little words, yet Sakonji knew they weren't spoken in jest. They were bold, confident, yet delivered with an icy calm disdain, even as he hunted the creature calling itself Naruto through the mystic manner, left, right, up, down. It didn't matter which way he went, the fiend was always there, always one step ahead. Each time they encountered one another, they clashed, and whenever they did, it said those same words to him. Such a deceptively simple offer. He promised power with his left hand and delivered punishment with the right. His cracked ribs would attest to that. Blast it all, there had to be a way out of this. Where were Jigoro and Shinjuru? Why did he hear the sound of a drum every time the rooms changed? Why not again? A flash of golden light at his flank demanded his attention, yet even as he pivoted, he knew it would be too late. Claws flashed out at his face. A portion of his mask whistled away into the air, exposing a startled eye. Well, what do you say? Once more, the young man, demon, stood before him, feet now planted on the ceiling. It's a fair offer. He grinned at him, face only inches from his. I promise you won't regret it. He stood back and took a stance, ignoring the agony in his right side. Never. Come on. I'll even spare your comrades. The king spoke as though he hadn't heard him. Just let me turn you already. It's a fair offer. One life for two. I'm being downright nice here. He lunged. There's no such thing as a nice demon. Not didn't deign to touch. He stood there upon the ceiling, an almost petulant expression flitting across his face. That expression didn't change, even as Urukataki's Nichirin sword swept across and bit into his neck once more. This time, the blade didn't even penetrate half an inch. A cold pearl of dread coalesced in the older man's gut as he strained against the upside down demon. He'd been able to behead him before, for all the good it did. What had changed? That kind of thinking will see the corpse destroyed, you know. With lazy grace, said Demon grabbed his blade with one hand and reeled him in, driving a fist into his solar plexus. Wake up to reality already. Breath blasted from Sakonji's lungs as he folded around that powerful limb like so much bamboo. Ah! He was still reeling from the first when a second blow rocketed his body. Now a third. He felt something rupture in his chest, taking his strength with it. Blood slushed out of his mask. Air. No air. Why couldn't he breathe? Oops! His tormentor saw it and sacked him as one would a bag of grain. Didn't mean to puncture a lung. Here, let me fix that. He was powerless to prevent him bounding off the ceiling. A hand slapped against his chest, glowed gold, and incredibly the pain receded. He glowered up at his foe through his ruined mask. Why heal me? I am your enemy. Do you think such a thing would sway me? Haven't you been listening? That wild grin returned. I want you on my side. Sure, I prefer you become a demon, but you could remain human if you're that keen on it. Urukataki didn't waste a moment. He had found his second wind, and now he used it, slashing out in a graceful arc. Water ripped through the air. Naruto whistled in admiration and kicked backwards to safety. He lunged after in pursuit, only for the distant sound of a drum to reach his ears once more. No, not again. Too late. Left became right. Up, down. His charge turned into a tumble as the world inverted. The green demon took full advantage and delivered a debilitating kick to his spine as he stumbled by, and pain arched up Sakonji's back, sending him slamming into a wall. He righted himself quickly, anticipating an attack that never came. You really are a stubborn one. A low sigh tricked out of his flank. Put the blade down. I'm not interested in killing you. F- Fiend! His sword slashed out behind him and tasted naught but empty air. I'm really not. Once more, he found him in the center of the room, beaming brightly. Any other demon would have carved up your corpse and put your head on a spike. Don't make me do the same. Urukataki took the moment for what it was, an opportunity, a chance to gather his strength, marshal his wits, face his foe, and ready himself once more. You say that as if you could kill me? Really? A blonde brow crept upwards. Arrogance doesn't become you, Slayer. I'm not above killing you and resurrecting you to make a point. What? You're one of the oldest Slayers here, and undoubtedly the most principled. Much to his chagrin, the demon ignored those words and offered him his hand anew. More than that, you've decades of experience under your belt. I want that for my people. No, I need that. And still that hand stretched out towards him. Why fight each other when we could work together? Think of what we could accomplish. And the alternative? The smile faded. Don't test me. I really only need one of you alive. Killing you, however, would be a waste. Sakonji chambered his blade and inhaled, prepared another water-breathing form. I prefer to spend my remaining days in the sun. He wasn't prepared for the laughter that followed. It was an awful, throaty sound, a noise that had no business coming from a human's mouth. It lasted only a moment, but the sound would stay with him for the rest of his days. As he looked on, the blonde bent double, squeezing his torso as his shoulders shuddered in silent mirth. That's your reason? He cackled merrily, shaking his head from side to side. Ha! You really don't get it, do you? Why do you laugh? He was missing something here. Urukadaki just knew it. A crucial piece of the puzzle, one he couldn't see. But what? Why would mentioning the sun make this demon laugh so? Their kind feared the sun. Unless, no, he dismissed the thought immediately. Surely not. It just wasn't possible. Sorry. Naruto straightened abruptly, whipping a mirthful tear from the corner of his eyes. Can't can't tell the uninitiated. You'll understand when you join us. If Urakataki rasped, drying himself up, I have not agreed to anything. When? The blonde countered. I'll admit, you're not half bad. I'm not used to seeing this much of my own blood anymore. He held up a hand, idly watching red drip from his torn bicep. You're pretty good, one of the better slayers I've seen this century. But that's all you are. As he looked on, that wound closed as well, leaving him hell and whole once more. Good. You're no Yorichi. That name. What's that? What say we put the sword down and talk? The Demon King dared step forward. I'm sure once you hear me out, you'll. Hey, I was talking. They collided in a storm of raging swings. Again, he took a little blow to the neck. Again, the wound closed before his very eyes. Only one chance. The Husher gripped his wrist to stifle his quivering arm. Steady your breathing. Focus. Inflict as much damage as you can with a single strike. I'm not finished yet. I'll hold nothing back. He dragged his body in. He dragged his body into one final stance in spite of his wounds. Tenth form. Red eyes rolled in mild derision. Fine. The demon beckoned. Give everything you got. See what happens. Uda Kataki lunged, and prayed Jigoro and Shinjiro were having better luck than he. The old man was fast. Daki would acknowledge that much. Faster than any slayer she had ever seen, really. His wits were quick, his stance strong, his blade sharp. Against an opponent such as Jigoro Kuwajima, a single mistake might well spell her doom if she weren't careful. Truly, the geezer was a credit to the Hashira everywhere. Pity it wouldn't save him. She swayed back, face splitting in a merry grin as the tip of his blade tickled her neck. So close. Fiend! The old man gave chase, descending upon her in a storm of blaze. Hold still! Never! And pivoting on one heel, she chambered a kick to his torso, reeling him in with her obai and drove a debilitating backhand across his face. I'm sorry, she cooed as she reeled. Did I break your concentration? Here, let me help. It was the simplest thing to fling him away again, smashing him through a wall and tear him across the ground. Oh, sounded like he'd broken something there. Jigoro might be a powerful thunder Hashira, but she'd seen Hashira before. Never fought one herself, sure, but she knew her stuff. Keep them off balance, get up close, pick them apart bit by bit until their stamina gave out, and then make the kill. Bukako had gone down in a single hit. The scaredy cat. She was off playing dead in a corner somewhere. Was if she wanted to leave her the glory, then fine. A sharp sting in one of her cloth whips was her only warning. Ducky heard a harsh rasp of breath. Then he was upon her. Through the breathing, first form. He rocked past and took her head clean off. Her body pivoted, caught her head in one arm, spun, and drove a heel into his back, launching him away. Credit where it was due. The geezer didn't stay down. He was right up again and balking now as she turned to face him, head in hand. What the devil are you? Devil, huh? Well, I suppose that's the right sentiment. Daki calmly reached up, holding her severed head to leer at him. Credit where it's due. You caught me off guard. Almost made me panic. She reattached it to her neck with a put upon sigh. I nearly called for Naruto. Her smile became a scowl as her hair bled white. Doing so would have disgraced me. He gave me this task, and to think I nearly failed. She craned her neck. She looked past him as one might an amusing child. Stop playing dead over there, Mukako. I know you're alive. Jigoro felt a hand come down on his shoulder. His eyes bulged, but the grip held fast, the hand growing stronger, larger. A low feral hiss filled the air. That hurt, you old fart. It really hurt. It hurt. Blood splashed through the air. Shinjoro creaked an eye open, waking from fitful dreams. For a fleeting moment, he dared to hope. But no, the floor beneath him was a hard Tommy mat, not the warmth of his bed. Ruka was nowhere to be found. Hadn't she come to bed? Oh, memories rushed back. Shinjoro wished they hadn't. He found himself still within the manor, which meant the nightmare wasn't over. Sure enough, a dozen aches and pains manifested themselves, reminding him just how close he'd come to death. No, he was certain he had. His last memory consisted of those creatures swarming him, his blade flying out of his grasp, blood splattering through the air. Why was he still alive? Flame fingers fumbled for his sword and failed to find. No, had he dropped it during the fight? There, bleary eyes beheld it, just out of arm's reach. Had to move. Hey, you're finally awake, a rough voice intoned behind him. Took you long enough. Was starting to think you'd never wake up there. And Shindro whirled and noticed his savior, only to realize he wasn't one at all. Skin white as snow, laced with wild curvings, assured lines, tousled hair, a strange pink eye burning a tan yellow against cerulean's glare, clad in an open vest of darkest violet, and white pants rolled well below the knee. He looked like some wandering warrior. His appearance spoke for itself. A demon. This was undoubtedly a demon. He stank blood. He stank of blood, and yet for all that, he didn't strike him while he was down. Why did you save me? Save you? His so-called savior turned to face him. I didn't save you. He most certainly had. He'd plucked him away from those women and that thing. I just stole you for myself. An ember of cold dread sparked in Shindaro's chest, but it was too late. Five firm fingers fitted down, seized him by the collar, and hauled him to his feet. He tensed, expecting the death blow at any moment, his blade as well across the room. He couldn't defend himself without it. The end never came. The captor dusted him off, grunted once, and set him down on his feet. Go get your sword. A beat of silence passed between them. What? I prefer my fights to be one-on-one. Don't like ganging up on slayers. The unusual demon turned his head aside and spat. There's no strength in that. He jerked his tattooed face to the right. Like I said, hurry up and retrieve your blade already. A pale hand beckoned his way. It'd be so boring to kill you like this. I aim to have some fun before you die. Fun? Is this a game to you? A laugh? What else would this be? I didn't save you from Sukana out of charity. Shinjiro edged towards his sword, never once taking his eyes off the cruel creature before him. You would betray your comrades for such a meaningless reason? No, no, no. His rescuer waved a pale hand. He and I ain't friends, but you. I can tell your strength at a glance. You really are a Hashira, ain't you? He bent to retrieve his blade. I'm the Flame Hashira, Shinjiro Rengoku. Akasa. The man monster before him grinned, taking on a stance of his own. I've been dying to fight a Hashira. Don't disappoint me, Shinjiro. I'll try not to. A fist filled his vision. There was no other warning. One moment the man before him was motionless. In the next, his world erupted in stars. He saw it coming and twisted aside at the last. For what little good it did him, he'd been a hair too slow, and his right eye paid the price. Half his vision went dark in a shower of blood. A second slower would have seen his brain splattered across the floor. Then he was moving as well, and pushing the pain in the back of his mind. Blade rising for a singular strike. First form, unknowing fire. Flames swarmed forth, annihilating the arm that had taken his eye. Oh, you dodged that? Not bad. Akasa danced back, waving the stub of his elbow with like a chirp, with a chirp grin. Your fighting spirits really is honed to the hilt. That same arm swung back, regenerating in an instant. Show me more, Shinjoro. What followed couldn't be called a battle, for Shinjiro remembered none of it. Time and time again, those palefaces sought his life. Time and again, he diverted them by the narrowest margins, slicing them apart, only to face them again and again, yet again. Now he soon lost track of the inhonorable times they clashed. There was no time for graceful flourishes or beautiful riposte. It was a dance of death between the two hardened killers. The two hardened killers. The first to misstep would die. You really are strong, aren't you? Akasa swayed aside, took a swing to the shoulders, then kicked him away, sending him skidding back. This superb reaction speed of yours, remarkable. At first, I just wanted to win the bet, but now Shinjiro had an instant to catch his breath. Then the berserker was upon him again, forcing him back once more. Ever in retreat. I think I want you to stick around. His foe laughed as they traded blows. Why don't you become a demon, Shinjiro? He blocked, and headbutted him to gain distance. Never. Far from being dissuaded, Akasa only cackled with all the louder. That's what they all say. But you, I think you'll understand. We're alike after all. I will not become a demon. His blade caught bare knuckles and then stopped them cold, forcing a stalemate. It would be a shame to kill you here. Akasa leered at him over the Nichiren steel. Join our side. Shinjiro roared, taking another arm, and blitzed the grinning demon in a blaze of flame. He could feel his breathing growing heavier by the minute, more and more fighting. It felt more and more labored. His knees were growing weak, arms heavy. How long had they been fighting? It felt like an eternity. And then he made a mistake. Akasa feinted left, forcing his blade to follow, only to shift right at the last second. Caught unprepared, Shinjiro's blade swept too wide. The demon took full advantage and caught the blade in one hand, made a fist around it now, uncaring as it bit into his flesh. He couldn't pull it out. Akasa held fast, grinning ear to ear. Become a demon, Shinjiro, he groaned. It's the only way to beat me. Never. Clenched knuckles struck Shinjiro in the chest and tore him free. His entire body creaked. He crashed backwards, steadying himself, and then raced back in. Flames flow through his blade, flowing into the shape of a towering tiger. Fifth form. Akasa didn't even deign to dodge. No, surely he could have, but he didn't have enough time. Shinjiro tried to tell himself that as he watched the demon vanish within the blade, and that was enough, surely. No demon could possibly survive being immolated in such a manner. He slumped into a knee and coughed blood. Not good. His body was failing him. He'd taken too many wounds. It pains me to see you in such a state, Shinjiro. Akasa waded out of the smoke, already healing. Look at yourself. You could go so much further than this. His fist drew back, sparking blue with intent. Or would you rather die here? Think about it. Shinjiro gripped his blade. Flame breathing. Esoteric art. Ninth form. Akase tilted his head abruptly. Say, you have kids, don't you? Flickered, and his breath and breathing with it. What? Ah, you do. Me too. The demon grinned. Got a little girl about this tall. He mimed a gesture at his waist, beaming like some proud parent. Bit of a slow grower, that one, but I'd give the world for her. Lies, tricks, deceit. Everyone knew demons couldn't reproduce in such a manner. I'm sure you have a lovely wife, too. That grin didn't waver. Just like mine. You love yours with all your heart, don't you? He was trying to make him falter, and it was working. He abhorred his charge, and turned it into a thrust. Leave them out of this. His blade bit deep, sinking into the demon's forearm. How can I? Akasa gripped it with the free hand and flung him off. We're not so different, you and I. We both have things, people, we want to protect. Shinjiro felt something twist in his chest. Demons only care for themselves. Not our kind. Ask yourself this, Hashira. The demon planted a hand on his hip. What would you do to keep your precious family safe? Don't you miss them? Don't you want to see them again? Rengoku's knuckles whitened around his hilt. Of course I do. Aren't you doing them a disservice by dying here? His 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 blood turned to ice. Stop! How they'll mourn you! I said stop! His temper sparked, and with it came rage. Ninth form! That's it! Akaza rejoiced at the sight, uncaring of the heat rolling from his body. That's the look! Hit me with your best shot! He took a stance as the ground pulsed beneath him. And when you fail, his eyes flashed with a madness gleam. Berserker incarnate, you'll beg me to make you a demon. Shinjiro lunged with a roar. Rengoku! His ultimate technique knew no failure. It never had before. He cut down and thrust his blazing blade through the demon before him. A pillar of fire pierced the manor, roaring through the ceiling now to scorch the clouds high into the sky. He paid it no mind. So close now, the demon flung a hand up, an arm, but he cut through that like so much butter, slamming blazing steel into at his neck. Something pierced him in turn, striking with enough force to shatter his concentration. The fire gutted out. Shinjiro looked down, saw the arm thrust through his stomach. His world began to dim. Fear overtook him. Look up, Kyojuro, Senjuro, his wife, his sons. He never said goodbye. Ah, shit! He heard his killer curse. Look what you made me do, Shinjiro. Strange as it might sound, Hakasa seemed genuinely upset to have taken his life. This'll kill you. You'll die. Say you'll become a demon. Think of your family, damn it. Don't you want to see them again? Shinjiro coughed blood. His lips moved. You can still be with them. Akaza all but pleaded with him. You can still live in the sun. Something about those words resonated with him. Were they truth? Falsehood? Perhaps? He couldn't be sure. And yet what was that? The tormentor leaned in closer, one arm bracing against his shoulder, golden eyes narrowing to his slits. I can hear you, Shinjiro. Speak up. Ah! An awful cough shook him. Ah! May the gods forgive him for this, for this. For Shinjiro knew he never would forgive him. I submit. Akasa blinked 3 times in quick succession, then a grin bloomed across his face. I knew you'd come around. Through demon vision, Shinjiro watched the demon bit into his wrist. He fetched the cup from the pouch at his hip and poured it into the earthwise glass. There could be no denying his intent. In a matter of moments, it was all but brimming with deep red liquid. Akasa held that same cup up to his mouth. Drink, he urged him on. Quick, now! Through dim vision, Shinjiro considered the bloody cup. What choice did he have? It was this or death. At least this way. He could bide his time, wait for the moment to strike, and so he drank deeply. Blood poured down his throat. Reflexively, he swallowed. The world burned red, and he felt hunger. Previews: Live or die, Urokadaki. What'll be? The mask fell from his face. Reinforcements. Susumaru clasped her hands. What fun! What fun! What have you done? A will tore out of her. That's no fair. You cheated, cheater. She was going to die. No, not like this. She didn't want to die. I fought you fair and square. Then you pull a stunt like that. Unfair, unfair. How are you still talking? No, never mind that. I cut you apart. Why aren't you dissolving? You've ruined everything. This was my chance, my moment to look good for Naruto. Her fist hit the ground as she threw a tantrum. Everyone will laugh at me now. It's all your fault. Die. You can't just die. And his sword flashed up. Daki sighed and screamed the louder still. Brother! Her would-be killer scoffed, as if calling someone for your kind would change anything. A gray hand closed around the Hashira's throat. Your rang. End of chapter 8.